Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Price. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. And I don't know why I'm emphasizing it when I just had a long meeting with you earlier today, but it's always a pleasure to see you and talk to you. I wish you were in person right now.
Yes. I love your new space.
I do too. The background feels good. I think I want to put your other plant on that side or that side. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Figure that out.
But this is our last What's Up Doc for 2024. I can't believe the year is almost over.
Yeah, I almost in my head I was thinking for 2025. I've already moved on. I need to work on that.
Well, before we jump into our questions, let me first start off with we want to say thank you to every single person that sent in a What's Up Doc question for Dr. Price to answer, and for those who get to tune in. So if you are tuning in and you have a question and you want to put in the comments, Dr. Price will answer those questions today. Dr. Price, are you ready?
I am ready, and so is Dr. Ryan. Hey there.
Nice to see you, Dr. Ryan. Okay, so let me just start off with just saying this. I had to read these questions through the lens of the TikTok phenomenon that's going on. It says we speak but we don't judge, or we listen and we don't judge.
We listen, but we don't judge. You were judging. Okay, let's
I was judging. I was judging. So
All right.
here's the first one. And this one came in as the AITA. So am I the butthole pretty much? So they go, AITA for telling my team that the holidays are no excuses when lives are on the line. Here's the situation, Dr. Price. I lead a team of nurses, doctors, and surgeons. What we do is an accounting work. If a nurse doesn't finish the chart accurately or efficiently, a patient could literally die if we give them the wrong medication. If a lead surgeon doesn't show up sharp and focused, someone can literally not make it off of the table. If doctors aren't holding their teams accountable, mistakes happen that we can't afford. I know it's the holidays. I know that some of my people are missing their children because they're with their exes this year. Others are grieving family members, even ones that they lost years ago. And some are just overwhelmed because it's the end of the year. But I told my team, you don't get to check out. If you're here, I need you to be here. This job doesn't wait on your feelings. Woo! Now morale feels tense. Now morale feels tense, and people are looking at me like I'm a monster. But how am I supposed to balance empathy with the fact that what we do every day is literally save lives? Am I the butthole for demanding focus and accountability when stakes are this high?
I'm gonna call this person Bobby because it helps me to think of myself as talking to my Aunt Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
And then my Aunt Bobby is married to my Uncle Bobby. So we don't even know the gender of this person. So it helps me to think about that. All right. So what happened, my love, is that you said the quiet part out loud. If I'm working on a project right now, it's about, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? You're 100% right in everything you said. You just weren't very effective if we're talking about what motivates people. So and let me just say me too, right? Like I got sent to HR for 4.5 years because of my brutal honesty and how sometimes that brutal honesty would land on the ears of other people. In fact, it has cost me professional relationships. It has cost me personal relationships because I have not always centered the relationship. And if you don't remember anything else I say, you have to remember this. You have to put connection over correctness.
Mm.
You have to put connection over correctness. So what I'm not saying is that lives are not on the line. What I'm not saying is that excuses and reasons and stories are reasons to make mistakes when people's lives are on the line. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is it's rarely what you say, it's almost always how you say it. So what might it have looked like if you rallied your team together to say, I know it's the holidays. I know many of you are distracted, and list all those reasons. Or if you even had a conversation with each person one-on-one and then said, how can I support you to make sure that we are delivering the same level of excellence to our patients? And I hope you hear the difference in that. There's a very big difference from I recognize what problems you're dealing with And I'm here to support you to still live up to the expectations that I have for you, but the ones you have for yourself too, versus what I hear you saying, you said, which was, listen, I don't care nothing about your family. I don't care nothing about your holidays. I don't care nothing about whatever you're going through. Don't make no mistakes. And those two things are drastically different in how they land on the ears of another person. I am actively working on saying things like, I want you to be on time instead of stop being late. I am actively working on that. And so you have all of my care and concern and grace, as I tell you what I think might have shown up as you being the butthole.
Mm. Dr. Price, with this example, one of the things that just came to my mind, do we tend to see this happen a lot towards the end of the year? Like, obviously, we like have deadlines, like whether this isn't a health profession or not. Let's say it is accounting, right? Like they have to make numbers by 12/31. Like at the end of the day, that's what it's called for, right? So do we typically see when there's just a heightened of emotions during the holidays and it's end of year, do we see this happen a lot to where we are projecting these emotions and feelings out?
You know, I think it's anytime the team has something major going on. You
Mm.
know, if you see an organization where they're celebrating a massive anniversary, you'll see people getting distracted. You could have a team member who's getting married and they have multiple members on the team who are going to their wedding or in their weddings. You'll start to see people getting distracted. I know once I had a big trip planned with my girlfriends. And honey, every day I came into the office, I was talking about my trip. I was the distraction. You know, when people get a
Mhm.
new puppy or any number of things can be distracting. But this time of year, you've got all the winter solstice holidays. We tend to only think about Christmas, but there are many. And and people are just trying to be at home. I've seen a lot of memes that say things like, "This is that circle back in 2025 time of the year." And I get that. And when you are a leader, it matters how you talk to people. You have got to be able to regulate your tongue. And if you don't want to regulate your tongue, you probably need to go back to being an individual contributor. But a leader is responsible for the culture of their team. And if you just take a look at your organizational values, don't tell me what they are, but I bet you they don't say unbridled honesty, right? Like that's and I used to be the person who used to be like, I'm just being honest. Yeah, honest and kind, both together, both together.
I love it, Dr. Price. Absolutely love it. Our next What's Up, Doc question. What's up, Dr. Price? This year, I found myself telling my team to toughen up and now wishing I'd handled things differently. A few team members came to me throughout the year, always venting about how demanding work is and projects have been. I thought that this was just I thought that this was just the nature of the job. Sometimes all the things that we have to do is just push through the tough seasons and get results. So I told them, this is what I signed up for. This is what you signed up for. So toughen up and get the stuff done. Well, now my boss has decided to shake up the performance review process a little bit. Instead of just evaluating me on outcomes, my team got to give feedback too. And let's just say the reviews weren't glowing. Words like insensitive, dismissive, and lacking empathy came up. Honestly, I don't think I was wrong at the time. We're professionals, not babysitters after all. But now I'm wondering, if I had known my performance was going to be rated this way, maybe I would have been nicer and handled things differently. Am I wrong for not realizing this sooner and how I led my team in understanding that it actually matters on how I deliver messages?
Yikes! It sounds like these two people might have some of the same challenges. But I want to again say, me too. What's coming up for me right now is a personal experience I had a couple years ago. There's an organization I love, and I wanted to lead this organization, and I thought for sure that I was a shoe in. But when it came time for the vote, not only did I lose, I lost by a landslide. It was like the other person had 90% of the votes and I had like 10%. It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. The only thing more embarrassing would have been when I fell down the bleachers at a high school basketball game. Like, I don't think there was anything more embarrassing. And I bet you were embarrassed. I don't want to put feelings into your head, but I bet you were embarrassed when you saw your results, because while you were right, you were wrong.
Mm.
And again, I'm going to go back to this project because I think it's going to be the biggest thing that we're doing in 2025, and it's helping people choose to be effective over being right. Yes, you were 100% right. I heard in that question, I don't think I was wrong. Let me be clear. You were not wrong. You were not wrong. And I wasn't wrong either when I was saying whatever I was saying to the members of this organization. The challenge is most of us care how people talk to us if we're being honest. And so when you think about your favorite leader, I want you to, you have an assignment, person two here. I don't know what we want to name person two. But person two, you have an assignment if you're listening, and that assignment is I want you to think about your favorite leader, and I want you to write down 10 characteristics of that leader. Tell me, were they humble? Were they respectful? Did they have emotional intelligence? And as you go through and write down the 10 characteristics of that leader, document how well you are lining up to that. But when people are just really focused on being right, I have another assignment I'd like for them to do, and that is think about the worst person you've ever worked for. Write down 10 characteristics of that person, and then give me the flip side of it. Because, I would argue that one of my favorite leaders was pretty unbridled, but he would have been even more effective if he were all the other things and then also a little kinder with his tongue. It's like I try to imagine what it would be like to have a Steve Jobs that also cared about people's feelings. We think we have to choose either or, and it's both and. It's both.
I love that. I'm gonna go down to let me go down to this one. What's up, Dr. Price? I have a team member who is consistently making critical mistakes, sending out incorrect contracts to clients, missing deadlines, and slowing down the progress for the entire team. I tried everything from reviewing their work, checking in multiple times in a day, even rewriting reports to avoid bigger problems. I reached my breaking point with their constant excuses. And when I get pushback, I turn around, I get threatened that he's going to escalate this issue to HR. To make things worse, during year-end evaluations, my boss made me lower their performance score and then dropped my score too because I should have handled it better. Now, my high-performing team members are frustrated because they've been picking up this individual's slack and their scores are also suffering. The kicker, because of the type of agency we're in, it can take up to 6 months to a year to fire someone, even for their clear underperformance. I feel trapped trying to help this person improve, but at what cost? This mistake started affecting our outcomes, my team's morale, and my own health. I literally feel sick, physically ill, just thinking about this situation. Am I wrong for micromanaging to keep things from falling apart? How can I support a low performer without depending on the rest of my team to carry their weight? And more importantly, how can we adjust our organization's process so that evaluations are fair and situations like this don't drag on forever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one, I'm probably going to sound like you're probably going to want to say AITA about me on this one. Because when people learn that I am an empathy revolutionary, they think that empathy means no accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And those two things that's not true. Empathy and accountability are allies. So there are a couple things that I don't know here. One is, has this person ever been able to do their job well? And if they have ever been able to do their job well, or sometimes they're able to do it well, but other times they're not, it's a matter of consistency. And when someone is inconsistent, that usually means they have the skill to do the job. Just something is getting in the way. And to that regard, I would offer up the culturally responsive coaching model, where you're not telling them, you're telling them the goal is that they're doing their work with 0 errors or whatever your acceptable error rate is. And this is all laid out in the book, Dangerous Indifference, or we retitled it Culturally Responsive Leadership. So you don't need to take notes. It's while it's my trademark process, it's laid out all in there. But once you know for sure that the goal is for them to meet a certain quality target, then they are the ones who develop the plan, not you. You sit with them to figure out what the plan is for them to meet that target. And when they don't meet that target, now it's their plan they're not meeting, not yours. So the expectation is still the expectation. There's no way that you can just decide that a person doesn't have to meet the quality targets, right? Like that's the quality. But when they come up with their plan for how to meet that quality target and then they can't, now that's a different conversation, right? So first, have they been able to do it consistently? And if so, then let's focus on like a coaching conversation. Now, let's say they have never been able to do their job well. And all we've been doing for the entire time they've been in this role is transfer their work to other people and other leaders. Now we have a mismatch in terms of where they're, I call it butts in seats, right? Like, and if somebody is in the wrong seat on the bus, they're in the wrong seat on the bus. And you have two options. You can move them to another seat, or you can change your process. Here's what that might look like. Maybe this person does all the upfront work. Maybe they're good at like jumping in, getting stuff started, but maybe they're not the person to pay attention to the nitty-gritty details. Because quite frankly, you and I both mess up on in terms of details. That's why we check each other's work. And so we kind of shifted the process where you'll send things to me, I'll look at it, I'll send things to you, you'll look at it. So we've shifted the process to work because neither one of us have great attention to detail. If you have the ability to do that and you know you have people on your team who are exceptional at detail orientation, but maybe their speed is not what it needs to be, but this person is fast, then you can shift the process around. If you can do that. I am a fan of doing that when I can, but you can't always. And if you can't, listen, your job is to hold people accountable to what they say. Let them put their plan together and then hold them accountable to what they said they could do. And this one, I don't know what my HR professionals on the line think about this one, but I have always, when I had a performance issue, talked to my HR partner first. What do you mean you're going to escalate it to HR? You can't escalate it because I talked to them first. They are waiting for you because I had already talked with them about what the problems were and how I was going to have a conversation with you about it. So no one is surprised. And I think too often we feel like we have had conversations with people when we haven't. We're having one big old conversation with ourselves, with our friends at the bar, talking to our spouses or partners, talking more about people than we do to people and expecting them to change. And then of course people are going to be mad when they, hear it from you the first time. But it is damaging to your entire workplace culture to have someone who cannot meet their targets and assuming they don't have any special need that we need to accommodate. And everybody just working around it and acting like they don't know what's going on. That's not acceptable. Empathy and accountability are allies. They're not enemies.
You know what I love about your response, Dr. Price, is that you're showing that just removing this one person, it doesn't solve the actual problem. So just firing this person doesn't solve the problem at hand. And I absolutely love that because just jumping to, I'm going to start this 6-month process now. So in 6 months, this is gone. But you're still right now how you suggested we handle it is that you're providing a framework to also support the team that's been taking up that slack.
Yeah,
it's important.
Yeah, it's both and not either or. The sucker's choice is, what am I going to do? Micromanage or keep pushing this work off on my other team? No, we can invite people to come, get up to a higher level. We can do that. But this 6-month process, that's why I was asking Shannon, when did this start? How long has this been going on? Because if it's been going on for 2 years, I have just learned doing this work long enough. There'll be people who have 28 years seniority at a place. And I say, how long has this been going on? And they'll say, oh, the whole time. So if anybody would have started the lengthy process, then we would be where we need to be by now. And so someone has to take accountability. Now, my first thought is not firing people. It just isn't. But sometimes the best thing you can do is fire someone. I know that was true for me when I got fired. So.
Well, thank you, Dr. Price. Our next question says, what's up, Dr. Price? I have a team member who consistently exceeds expectation and takes on extra projects without me asking. Naturally, I rely on them more than I do others. I've actually given them some special recognition and even invited them to join the leadership discussions because I trust their judgment. Now, another team member feels left out and has confronted me saying that now I play favorites and it's causing division amongst the team. I thought I was just rewarding good leadership. How do I balance fairness and merit in this situation?
You know, a woman I actually admire, I think people are surprised to know this because she did fire me, is Cy Wakeman. And Cy Wakeman used to say, "You're darn right I play favorites." And um, if you've seen my comedy show, you know the first question I ask is, "How many of you have siblings?" And the people who raise their hand, I say, "Well, how many of you know who your parents' favorite is?" Like most of the people kept their hands raised because they absolutely know that their parents play favorites. And so here's what I will say to you: if your lovely parents play favorites, even the way that they care about you, of course, managers play favorites. Let's just make sure that we're playing favorites around the right thing, that we are not, that it is not things that I can't control. Like I'm not 6 foot tall and my name's John and I, go to happy hour. Let's make sure that it's truly about projects and work. And that's what's driving these extra perks in the job. So that's number one. Let's make sure that it's not about bias, that it actually is about work. And if it is about work, then let's just let the process be more open. Don't be blackmailed because someone says, "Oh, it looks like you are." Can you hear all that noise in the background? It's really loud over here.
No, I can't.
Okay, good. Don't get emotionally blackmailed because someone tells you that you play favorites. Like everyone has the opportunity to give a little bit of discretionary effort. Now, what I'm not saying, because what I don't want people to hear is that I'm asking for people to do work that's not paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I mean, we have all, I don't know, I have worked at a place where don't you dare turn off a pipe if it's somebody else's job because you get a union grievance. And so no one was willing to do a job that wasn't theirs. Recently, I told you about my hometown here in Kansas City, where a facilities crew went out and cleaned one set of stairs and didn't clean the other set of stairs. That kind of stuff is like, I mean, would you do that in your interview? The answer is no, right? And so when I think about people who do give discretionary effort, there should be some benefit for this. This is like the exact opposite of what the last person was talking about. Basically, what the last person's question was, okay, somebody's not quite doing their job, and my reward to them is to take their work away from them and give it to other people. My reward to them is for me to take work from them and I'll do it. And everyone's suffering. But in these situations, when I don't even have a problem with hierarchies. I think hierarchies are wonderful when it's based on actual merit and actual work. But what tends to happen instead is the people who get promoted are the ones because they have certain relationships, that they're playing the political game. And folks are like, "Oh, that's just what it is." No, it doesn't have to be what it is. Leaders get to decide what our cultures are going to be like. And there should be benefits for doing discretionary effort, period. And I'm going to stand on, I mean, how do you work in a capitalistic society and then say no benefits for doing discretionary effort?
Mm-hmm.
That's, but I'd want to see it though.
Right.
Because I don't know. I don't trust it sometimes. Usually it's not always about who is actually doing more work or better work. It starts to be about who do I like better. And that's, you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful there. But make the progress. If I wasn't clear, make sure that there's not a lot of bias in who's getting the perks. And then two, make sure that the process is transparent. It's not a secret why I play favorites. Here are the things these are the discretionary items that garner my favoritism. Let me know, you know what I'm saying? If you're willing to step up and do these things. And if not, then there's always going to be a benefit for people who are willing to do those things. It's not required of you though, right? Like
Right.
you get paid to do the job that's on the paper, but the perks are going to be for people who are willing to do just a little more. And I would feel no guilt about that.
Thank you, Dr. Price. I absolutely love it. That was our last What's Up Doc question for 2024. We had so many good questions this year.
We did. And you know what? I didn't see any coming through on the chat. So it seems like we answered all the questions. And people, if you want to send in a question, we're still going to continue to do these. into 2025, right, Jocelyn?
That is correct.
And we want them to send the questions directly to you, correct?
Yes, send them directly to me, and I will get them on our next What's Up Doc series, which will be in January.
And I don't know what date it is. Do you know?
No, and I don't want to like cut you off.
Tell people the wrong thing. You can always find our events at livelyparadox.com. And you can always send questions anonymously. And I'm always happy to answer those questions. And if you have a question that you want specific answers on, you can always pick my brain by reaching out at livelyparadox.com, and I'm happy to help. Take care, y'all.
Bye.